Love music. Live sport. Behind the Glass with Hamish Carton on Rock Sport Radio.
Another week, another episode of Behind the Glass. I am your usual host, Hamish Carton, and you can probably tell from the slight undertone in my voice that it wasn't a great weekend. Any fans of Scottish ice hockey know that it was a very disappointing one. The fans of Glasgow Clan and Fife Flyers know that especially because they, just like Dundee Stars the previous week, found out that they will not be making the Final Four weekend this weekend in Nottingham. No Scottish representation in that event. Very disappointing end to the season for all the teams. We'll touch on the fortunes of Fife Flyers and Glasgow Clan over the weekend as they lost their playoff quarter-final two-legged ties. It was really disappointing. It's not the way we wanted to end the season. It means, as I say, that there's no involvement. Effectively, if you want to put it in a nutshell, the Scottish ice hockey season has finished here at elite league level. Anyway, we know that there's still some SNL stuff going on, but elite league level, it's all over. So you can say goodbye to that. Over the next, 54 minutes or something like that, I will endeavour to bring you up to speed with everything that happened over the past couple of days. As you know, the top 8 from the Elite League went into the playoffs. They were playing like first versus 8, second 7, third 6 and fourth 5th. Home and away over the weekend. We now know the final 4 teams who will make it to the Final Four weekend this weekend in Nottingham. We'll come on to all that a wee bit later on. But we will chat a little bit about what went wrong. I'm going to touch on Glasgow Clan, of course. I was at their match last night, the second leg against the Guildford Flames. I'll talk a little bit about my experience in that match, the overall atmosphere, because there's a lot to discuss in terms of the occasion. Great crowd, great atmosphere, and a lot of the players and Pete Russell himself, who we'll hear from later on, touching on how good the atmosphere was and how it will live with them for a long time. But ultimately, disappointment for Glasgow Clan as they lost 5-0 on the night against Guildford Flames. I'll give my thoughts on the game, as I say, the atmosphere, all that kind of various stuff. We'll then turn attention to the other side that failed over the course of the weekend in very many ways, very similar to Glasgow Clan in that they had a lot of injury worries, right down to the bare bones, even further than the bare bones. Fife Flyers, of course, that went down to the Nottingham Panthers. Disappointment for them as well after what was a decent showing in the first leg, much like Glasgow Clan. We'll touch on all of that. We'll also catch up with Matt Elder, who's a journalist. You may know him, he writes for the Fife Free Press. He's the man to go to for anything to do with the Fife Flyers. So catch up with Matt. We'll hear what he had to say on, as I say, what was another disappointing weekend. We'll do that in just a little minute, because I just want to touch on the Fife Flyers first. Now, you do know that they were up in action. They were playing the Nottingham Panthers, who of course host the finals weekend this weekend. The Fife Flyers last year came so close to winning the overall competition. They did finish the regular league season, as you may remember, in 6th place, just a point behind it's 4 points behind the Nottingham Panthers, just a point behind Glasgow Clan and the Guildford Flames. They went into their first leg, which was on Saturday night, on home territory, home ice, and that one finished 3-3. It was a really interesting game. You know, it kind of swung from end to end. Fife Flyers got off to a great start. Mackenzie, Basaraba and Cazzola had 3 goals in the first period. Stewart and Richard had got ones back for Nottingham, so it was 3-2 to the Flyers after the first period. The second period was goalless, and then the third period, with about 5 minutes to go, Perlini equalised for the Nottingham Panthers to get them a good result in trying circumstances, because it'd been a good performance for the Flyers up to that point. Then went into what was the early kick-off on Sunday away back down south. It was a big match, and as much as it was, the 3-0 scoreline looks harsh on the Fife Flyers from what I understand, and we will speak to Matt in a little minute. It was a good effort from the Fife Flyers way down to the bare bones. Before we do that, we will just hear the thoughts, and I realise it's a bit kind of out of context now that we know how the second leg went, but this was Todd Dutiem speaking after what was that first leg against the Panthers on Saturday night, that 3-3 draw.
We came out with a game plan. I thought it was quite apparent at the start of that hockey game. The guys were up for it. We got off to a dream start. And I think there was a few more chances laying out there that we've regretted missing. I have to give credit to Nottingham. I thought both teams were engaged tonight. I thought both teams were going hard as playoff hockey. And they fought their way back into a hockey game. But I have to say, like, I did an interview with the press, and one of the things I said, I was so happy for my guys tonight, not only for the performance, but for the reception and the support they got tonight. I was also happy for the Flyers fans who, you know, it was such a great atmosphere tonight. I was so happy that the players got to experience that, because I used to get the experience that on a nightly basis, and it's the best place to play. When it's like that out there, it's the best place to play. So, you know, the fans, you know, hopefully they feel that they got what they paid for tonight, and the guys got a great sending off in their final game together in Fife.
There we go. That was Todd Duttiam speaking after what was the first leg of the Fife Flyers quarter-final, that 3-3 draw against the Nottingham Panthers. They did, of course, go into the second leg, and they lost that pretty convincingly in the end. To get a bit of a reaction to it, and I did try to get a Fife Flyers man, but apparently none of them available today. But we do have Matthew Elder, who, of course, writes for the Fife Free Press, covers a lot of the Flyers stuff. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
What did you make of the weekend? Ultimately disappointment for the Flyers, but I know you don't feel that the aggregate score was a fair reflection in the end, that they kind of gave all they had.
Yep. Going into the weekend, obviously so many bodies down, and with some guys sort of just strapping themselves up to play, already injured. I think it was going to be a really tall order for Fife to actually make the final four against the Nottingham side, who are obviously very well resourced, one of the best resourced teams in the league. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of hope going into the weekend. For the Flyers to have got such a good start on the Saturday obviously raised that hope a bit, going up by a couple of goals, and then you're thinking at that stage, well, if we could just keep this going. But I think the tired legs maybe told in the end. Nottingham obviously got back on level terms, and then going down to Nottingham without a lead to hold on to was going to be hard. Falling behind after 5 minutes, and Panthers just seemed to sort of tire the Flyers out. Really, just held on to that 1-goal lead, and then obviously just got them with empty netters at the end. But yeah, I'm not sure how much more Flyers could have given or could have done over the course of the two games. Yeah,
just as we heard from Todd Duttiam there, he spoke quite positively after what was the first leg, and I heard him after the game from last night as well, and again he said kind of what you're saying, that they gave all their effort that they could, and they put in a solid performance, and they were up against a good side as well. I mean, when you look at the season that Fife Flyers have had as a whole, they obviously started off really well and they kind of faded out. I mean, how would you view their season as a whole in comparison to maybe the previous year when they came so close, of course, in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't think this current team fulfilled their potential, if I'm being honest. Part of that is due to the injuries that they've suffered. It's probably the worst I can remember, actually. I mean, in Fife's elite league time, for injuries all at the same time, and that's saying something, because Fife have had this before, and had it as well last season, going into the end of the season, where they lost a couple of key players as well. But this year's team really did seem to show potential early on. I think they were actually leading the elite league, if I remember rightly, in October time. Around about the same time, they lost Chase Shaber, who Todd spoke about this before. He sees him as a team leader, probably the most important player at the club, and his absence obviously coincided with a sort of downturn slightly in results thereafter, which is a bit disappointing, because it's important to shape, but as he's still one player. I think other players in the Fife team could have maybe picked up the slack a bit better than they did going into sort of the November period. But the team did sort of get itself back on track, and I think they could have finished higher than they ended up. I think they were sixth in the end, but I think they could have really pushed Nottingham for third place had they kept a fully fit team going into the sort of last quarter of the season there, or at least a few less injuries than they ended up having.
Yeah, and obviously disappointment as well to to lose the Gardner Conference that they'd won last year. They don't win it often. It is usually Glasgow or Braehead Clan prior to that who lift it. But disappointing to that. And I suppose when you weigh all that in, and if we're honest, the cup performances weren't great. It does paint a little bit of a bleak picture. Do you think that's maybe slightly over the top in the fact they still have made the playoffs? They still did finish, I think, 6th in the table. It's not a disastrous season. I mean, do you see a future for this team maybe next year? And what do you think about the future of Todd Dutiem as well? Is he likely to remain on?
Todd's position seems pretty set on for next season. I think if Todd wants to continue, then I think the job will more than likely be there for him. There's certainly no indications that situation would change. In terms of the team, I think they've got the makings of a really good side there. With maybe a handful of upgrades they could maybe push next season. But Flyers always seem to have this issue where they do make a good start, they do raise expectations, and then they can't quite follow it through. They just seem to maybe lack that bit of depth. They did sort of add to that this season with a few more Brits from out with the sort of Kirkcaldy area. They brought in Barry McKenzie, they brought in Jordan Buesa, who've certainly made a difference to their depth in the forward areas. Although both probably should have played more than they did in the end up. But yeah, there is the fact that Flyers got off to such a good start in the league, and the fact that they've went to, I think, every arena in the Elite League this season and won, shows that the potential is there. It's just a consistency issue with Fife Flyers. If they can get a team that can work as hard as they did this weekend for the majority of a full season, then they can really have a shot at winning something. The conference, obviously, this season was a big disappointment. I think retaining that should have been a priority. I think especially with Clan going into sort of a wee transition period with a new coach, and they did end up taking some time to settle under Pete Russell, but it was Dundee Stars really that a team that struggled to make playoffs. The Fife Flyers seemed to have the greatest difficulty with this season. A team that probably ended up costing Fife Flyers a third place finish in the league, given how many points they lost to Dundee. That was probably the biggest disappointment of the entire season, was their head-to-head against Dundee Stars.
Big matches, of course, derby matches. I mean, you're over in the east, not quite the east coast, but that Fife, I suppose. I mean, you've got your ear to the ground in terms of what the fans are thinking. What is the mood with the fans at the moment? Are they still behind this team and the coach, or do they want to see? They obviously want to see improvements next year, but I mean, what is the kind of feeling among the supporters? The supporters are really craving some major success in the league, and the Gardner Conference last year was a sort of taste of that. I think the next step for Fife is now to get to a Challenge Cup final, certainly to get to the last stages of it, which is something they've not yet managed. Challenging for the league is always going to be difficult, I think, in Fife, given the teams that they're up against. I mean, you look at Sheffield and Nottingham this season, had disappointing, poor seasons really by their standards. That's unlikely to happen every year. These teams more or less up near the top every season with their resources. Cardiff and Belfast are similar. So for Fife to break into that top four would really take an exceptional season. Where Fife can maybe do some damage, as I say, like in knockout competitions, make the playoffs and then do themselves justice once they get through to Nottingham, which they probably haven't done in the 3 or 4 times they've been down there for the finals weekend. I mean, just to make a better start with the Challenge Cup. Yeah, that was kind of my next question. What do they need to do to take them on to the next level? You would obviously, if you were in charge, you would put a bit more emphasis on the cups. When you're in the league with teams like Belfast and Cardiff, it's always going to be difficult to match them over a whole year, and as we know, when it gets to the playoffs, as this weekend shown, basically it's a lottery. So I mean, would you put a bit more focus on the cup competitions and try and bring that silverware home that, as you say, fans are craving? Definitely, yeah. I think these should be priorities for Fife going into the season. I should the league title. I mean, every team starts off with ambitions of winning that. It's just as it's shown, it's always sort of the same teams with the best resources who end up the top there. But Fife really need to find a way to try and combat these teams' resources by using the best of the resources they've got.
and I think a lot of fans would probably agree that would probably involve trying to find a way to use their Brits more, giving their imports more of a rest, which would maybe help the injury situation heading towards the end of a season. I'm not convinced all of the injuries have been down to imports being overplayed. Some of them have had obviously pretty nasty hits that have ended up in injuries, which is a whole other can of worms that we could open. But I think Fife need to really look at how best they can use their resources to try and combat the likes of Belfast, the likes of Cardiff, Sheffield and Nottingham, because they're maybe not quite getting that balance right at the moment in terms of burning out imports and sort of bringing Brits through as well.
Right. Is that something that, I mean, I suppose every team in the Elite League wants to see as many British players coming through as possible? I take it that's something that, again, the fans really like to see. And as you mentioned, there has been a few youngsters this year that have come across and done really well, and I'm assuming that's something they want to see even more of.
Yeah, definitely. There's young guys who are getting GB call-ups, and I know the sort of age group GBs to Elite League hockey is an incredibly big jump, but if they're getting recognised at GB level, I think there's definitely something there that's worth developing. And I know Fife are putting a lot of work into developing these players. The fans, the majority of the fans will feel that the best way to develop these players is to actually throw them in to the Elite League, give them more ice time, and if they make a mistake, so be it. Again, that's where the coaches have a really difficult job, because what we're talking about is Fife trying to win things. Yeah. And we'll remember the phrase, you don't win things with kids, sort of thing. And if Manchester United had been the exception in the 90s, but the general consensus is among the coaching staff at Fife is that they can't really afford to develop young British players during games if that means mistakes have been made, which then cost them points, which then leads to supporters being unhappy, but for a different reason, because they're not winning as many games. So it's a very difficult balancing act between trying to develop Brits in a league that isn't actually set up to develop Brits. If you think about it, 14 imports leaves very little space for young up-and-coming local players. But yeah, I do think Fife have some talented young players there. They have some experienced Brits as well now in Barry McKenzie, they have Chris Wands. And I think if they could fit all these players in on a more nightly basis, I think the fans would be happier, and I think maybe towards the end of the season you would have less of these sort of imports feeling the wear and tear that they have to, because they have to soak up so much ice time in Fife.
Just away from Fife Flyers, and if we touch on the Scottish sides as a whole, what have you made of the performances of Clan, Stars and Flyers? How would you rank them, and how would you say they're shaping up for the future as well? Because I mean, Glasgow Clan, as you just pointed out, they started off really poor, came into it, and then obviously finished the season diabolically and fell away, whereas the Stars couldn't even make the top 8. So as much as that seems quite negative in the face of it, for me personally, that there's positivity certainly for Clan, and I think the Stars have potential as well next year.
Yeah, all three Scottish clubs left in the Elite League definitely have the potential to have good seasons. Whether they can maintain it over 2, 3, 4 years is another thing, but I think Clan showed it, was it a couple of seasons ago, when they really did push for the Elite League title, and Clan we'll probably be looking to do that next season now. Pete Russell's had a season under his belt. It remains to be seen whether he will stay there or not, of course, but if he's going into season 2, I think they'll look to build on this season. Stars probably have the fewest resources out of the three Scottish teams, and their goals are maybe slightly different in that regard, and that I think an 7th or 8th place finish is probably a good season for Dundee the majority of the time. And I think they had a really good spell sort of midway through the season where it looks like they would actually get into that top 8, but again, maintaining it over a long season with limited resources is always going to be difficult in this league. the way the league set up's just with 14 imports being the sort of set rate, it makes it very, very difficult for low budget teams like Dundee to compete. But what they do is they do compete on a nightly basis. I mean, Dundee, you won't get an easy game against Dundee Stars, or even Milton Keynes, for instance, who finished sort of adrift at the bottom. I don't think anybody found an easy night against Milton Keynes, or very rarely. So I mean, overall, Scottish hockey's in sort of decent health, I would say, in terms of Fife, Clan, and Dundee are all getting good crowds. Although Fife's is probably down a bit, and it's really up to the club to sort of look at that and see how they can promote themselves better.
What's that down to? Is that just a lack of success on the rink, or what do you think?
Probably a lot of factors. I think it's probably no sort of secret that Flyers PR could be better. They don't really seem to put a lot of investment into the sort of PR side of things, or promoting themselves. There's also some people who may not like their style of hockey particularly. So when Fife had Matt Nickerson, I mean, the place was sold out every night, despite the fact that they were pretty much bottom of the table, I think, for the majority of the season.
I mean, it's a good point you make.
It's maybe the style of hockey.
Yeah, because there are a lot of hockey fans at this kind of level will be casual fans, and there'll be fans who want to go and be entertained, even if it's not kind of a matter of life and death whether Flyers win or lose, and they're maybe just wanting to go and see a good match and a team that's going to play attractive hockey. So I mean, that's an interesting point you raise. Yeah, yep. I mean, certainly the hockey at times can be up and down. There's been some nights watching the Flyers where you would say that's been a bit uninspiring, maybe, even when they've won a game. But I think certainly in this country, people seem to like the physical side of the hockey. They seem to like the sort of enforcer side of things, which obviously the game as a whole seems to be drifting away from. But the UK still has that element here. I think if my Fife had brought Matt Nickerson back for this season, I think you would have saw some big crowds again in Kirkcaldy. Which I know it's frustrating for Todd and the guys, because you're probably looking at their last two seasons, given some of the results they've had consistently against the bigger clubs. It's been their best two seasons in the league so far, but it's probably been their worst attended. So there's a bit of work for Fife to do to try and figure out how they get some fans back through the door. Yeah. Just finally, Matt, we've got Belfast playing Guildford and Cardiff Nottingham in the other semi-finals. Who's your money on for A, to get to the final, and then B, to win the whole league?
I think you'll see probably Cardiff and Belfast.
Well, that's the final everyone wants, isn't it?
I think they're the best two teams over the course of the season. I think it would be the right final, and that would be a very difficult one to call, if I'm being honest, between the two teams, given how closely matched they were over the course of to go over a 60-game season, and for the league to go to the very last game is incredible. So there's nothing to separate these teams, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have another final like we did a few years ago. It seemed to go on and on and on in overtime. So I wouldn't be able to call it between those two. Yeah,
it literally was 2 goals between them over an entire season, finishing the same amount of points and all that as well. So yes, that's the one we're looking forward to. Anyway, Matt, really do appreciate your time joining me and giving me a little bit of an insight from the Fife side of things.
You're welcome.
Matt Elder there from the Fife Free Press, bringing us up to speed with everything going on that side of the country. We will take a little bit of an ad break, commercial break. We'll then turn attention to a little bit of music, and then we'll talk, of course, about Glasgow Clan. Disappointing for them, I was there. I'll be bringing you up to speed with all my thoughts on that, plus the thoughts of Pete Russell and a couple of the players as well. Stay tuned to Behind the Glass on Rock Sport Radio.
Love music, live sport. Behind the Glass with Hamish Carton on Rock Sport Radio.
Big thanks to Matt Elder from the Fife Free Press, who joined me in the last 15 minutes or so to chat a little bit about Fife Flyers following their elimination from the Elite League playoffs. Sadly, we're going to duplicate that in the second half of the show by chatting about Glasgow Clan following their elimination from the playoffs of the Elite League. Disappointment there. Bad news for Clan, bad news for Fife Flyers. Even more bad news when I tell you this is the final episode this season anyway of Behind the Glass. Do really appreciate all the support and all that we've got throughout the show, all the various guests we've had on. Sadly no Scottish team in the finals weekend this weekend, which is tough news. Means that there's a lack of stuff to talk about, really. So anyway, I hope you enjoy if you're going down. I know there's a lot of Fife Flyers, Dundee Stars and Glasgow Clan fans who are going down to Nottingham this weekend. As we'll hear from Pete Russell earlier, he has a wee message for them anyway. I think they'll enjoy themselves anyway. But we will move on to Glasgow Clan. A reminder that you can, of course, catch all the various news from Rock Sport Radio on Twitter. We're at Rock Sport DAB on there, Facebook Rock Sport Radio, and YouTube Rock Sport Radio Official. Right, Glasgow Clan, they were up against the Guildford Flames, as we well know. First leg, down south, Clan finished ahead of the Flames just in the regular season playoff, I think by a point. In fact, no, they were in the same amount of points. It was literally by a couple of goals. That meant that they had home advantage in the second leg. They got a 3-2 victory in the first leg, so a draw or better would have done the business for Clan. It'd been a long, arduous, up and down season for Pete Russell, his first full season in charge at the club that was formerly known as Braehead, playing their first full season as Glasgow Clan, and it proved to be disappointment in the end. You could not write the script, or maybe you could, as Clan succumbed to a 5-0 defeat on home ice to the Guildford Flames last night. Incredible result when you look at it in the face of things. I mean, I know some people would have said perhaps Guildford were in with a chance and they wouldn't be massively surprised if they won, but 5-0, come on. Incredible goals from Crooks and Waters. He was getting quite feisty at times last night. In the first period, put them ahead. They then, effectively, if I tell the story of the match, and it's ironic because so often this year Pete Russell has lamented second period performances from his side. So it was incredible that it was actually a very good display from his team in the second period after what had been a real shabby opening period. You know, big crowd there. I was there in attendance at the Braehead Arena. Big crowd there, I don't know, 2,500-3,000 if not more. Really loud crowd. You've got the lead for the first leg, get the fans behind you. They didn't do it. They were behind, as I say, on aggregate after the first leg. It was 4-3 to the Flames, 2-0 on the night. Second period, all Glasgow Clan. They had a spell of pressure where they had the Flames pegged right back. So many good opportunities that they just couldn't quite really test the netminder, to be honest, with a lot of stuff whizzing by the post and whatever, but not enough. But in terms of territory and opportunities, it was a one-sided affair in that second period. All Glasgow Clan. They even had I think a 2-minute power play when one of the Flames boys was sent off for an illegal trip to the sin bin. Was sent off for 2 minutes. He came right back on, and literally about 10 seconds later the Flames scored with just 53 seconds to go in the second period. A dagger into the heart for Pete Russell, his players, his coaching staff and all the fans there supporting Glasgow Clan, as that meant that it went 3-0. There was a feeling at that stage that although there was still a period to go and they still had the home advantage and they only actually needed 2 goals to take it to overtime, there was still a feeling that that second period was the big opportunity, and the big opportunity that had gone missing. And so it proved to be. As the third period went on, it was 2 minutes and 17 seconds before the end, before we got our next goal. Clan pulled the keeper, Joe Rumpel, obviously with about 5 minutes to go. A brave move from Pete Russell. It looked like it was working, perhaps to the extent where they had the Flames pegged back. A couple of shooting opportunities, a couple of close ones, but again, similar to the second period, just not enough purchase on the efforts to grab a goal. And yeah, Akerud slid into the empty net. He pinged one in from quite far out, and that was if the third one was a dagger, that was the absolute clincher. That was 4-0, and Clan suddenly needed 3 in 2 minutes. An absolutely impossible task. It was made even harder 40 seconds from the end when Foster added a fifth to make that incredible scoreline. Glasgow Clan 0, Guildford Flames 5. 7-3 to the Flames on aggregate. An incredible night, a night that took a lot of emotion. I'll go into some of the other stuff about that in a little minute. First, let's just hear the thoughts of Pete Russell after that one.
Well, it wasn't a 5-0 game, but I thought Travis Fulton played great. I thought we hit the bar and the post 2-3 times, and we gave up a couple, but I thought last time we put a great performance in, and I think it just caught up with us, Craig. I think Conley, Stanish, Mousel, Haywood played with one arm this weekend because we never had boys. I thought Matt Howlett done a great job last night stepping out. It was a bit physical tonight. I thought the boys battled. I just think tonight was maybe the story of our season at times. You just said it, we're just willing one to go in so we can get some for our hard work, and we had plenty of chances and they wouldn't go in, but that's happened maybe a good few times to us. And if I said when I came here, we'll win the conference, we'll finish fourth, we'll be in the playoffs, we'll be in the semi-final of the cup, you would take that as you would. And I was dying to be in Nottingham. Like last night I didn't sleep much, I was excited. I had a real good feeling after our performance last night defensively that we could come and do it again, and and it just wasn't to be. And it's the one thing that I'll never say bad about this team is how hard they work. Like even tonight with the goalie out 5.5, 6 minutes to go, it was 3-0. We knew we were 2 goals down in aggregate, and we pushed to try and get it. And I think we had them out for 3 minutes, and then they got one over the top. But the atmosphere tonight, like, just sensational. The noise, how they backed the team, and even at the end how they stayed and backed the team. I just thought that was a testament to the players and how people say they've got their club back and their clan back, and for me that's a big positive and a sad and a disappointing result, but I think the end kind of shows you how much it means to people and how much they love the club again.
You and I spoke in Nottingham almost a year to the day when you got the job and it was being announced that you were coming to the club. What have you got out of the last 12 months personally?
I don't know. I think coming into a tough situation. There was probably a lot of people didn't want me here at first. That's fine. I think I might have changed their minds with most of them, or a lot of them. I would hope. I think myself I land a little bit myself, dealing with the guys every day again in my second year in the league, and probably I was better this year than I was last year. I landed a lot in Milton Keynes, and I think I brought that. But the biggest lesson is I knew before I came is how much I love my wife and my daughter and how much I miss them. And that's the biggest testament to the team, because they've been unbelievable to be around, and they've helped me just stay focused and enjoy coming to work every day. I don't think there's a day that I've not enjoyed coming to the rink, whether it's a Tuesday morning, a Friday morning, or a Saturday or a Sunday after a road trip. I just don't think there's a day this year that I didn't want to come to the rink. And last year I didn't have that the last 8 weeks, and I think it gave me my love back for hockey again. And I think that's helped me, and I think it's been great to coach such a big club, and a fan base growing again. They're coming back, and the atmosphere, like last night in Guildford was just ridiculous. I can't believe how many people had came 850 miles to that game. I was watching a warm up and I was blown away by it, and I realised how big a club it is. Do you know what I mean? And it's been great. We'd love to go to Nottingham. That would have been just a real cherry in the top. But we played a great team, and they're offensively gifted. And if you give them things, they'll take it. And good luck to them. But I want to thank Gareth, Jerry, the staff, Mr. Black, the team, and the fans. The fans have been unbelievable. They're just they're just a joy to come to work every day.
There you go, Pete Russell thanking, it seems, everybody on the planet apart from me. I don't know why he left me out, must have forgotten. Anyway, I'll just kind of deliver my thoughts a little bit. Obviously a neutral going to the match, just enjoying the occasion. I say neutral, I was up for Glasgow Clan, but I'm not a Clan fan. What I kind of took from the end of the match was, first, the players were absolutely exhausted. They looked like a team that had just played 70, 75 games this year. They looked absolutely knackered. Truth be told, I think the fans originally, there was a disappointment, especially as I say when that third one went in, but the fourth one was a real killer. That absolutely killed off the tie, and there was a feeling at that stage of, God, what a disappointment this has been. We were doing so well. This was a team who were threatening at one stage to perhaps rival the Belfast Giants and the Cardiff Devils. They probably would have run out of games anyway if they kept that great form up from the kind of December, January, February period. But they were playing out of their skins, and they would have been up there as favourites to win the playoffs. So there was a feeling of disappointment and underachievement. But then I think that kind of faded away as the Guildford players took the acclaim of pretty much everyone, standing ovation, really good side. And I think they would do well this week, by the way, when they took the kind of the adulation from their small travelling support as well. But once they went, you were left with Clan. They did a lap, and I think there was a bit of an understanding that this is a team that are on the up. This is a team that Pete Russell's got hold of. It's his first full year in charge, and I think when you look at it in context, you know, they've re-established their spot as number one team in Scotland pretty convincingly in the Gardner Conference, ahead of the Stars and the Flyers. They've got to a semi-final, are really unfortunate to lose to the Giants after winning that first leg in the Challenge Cup, and they've finished a respectable fourth, a pretty good fourth given the way they started the league and finished it. A pretty good fourth, and they've gone out to a decent team. There's no doubting that there was disappointment in the playoffs, but I think that's a team, as we'll hear in a minute, the fans believe they've got their team back. I heard that mentioned a lot last night. There was a general positivity leaving. There was people going, look, there's more to come from this team. They've got new favourites now, new guys. I mean, the way Fitzgerald's led that team this year has been pretty exemplary. They've obviously got the old guard and guys they really like the Peacock and Haywood, but there's new guys in there. Becca, who's been a big fan's favourite, and I just get the feeling there's more to come from this team. I'm going to play something else now. It's Pete Russell again. Now this is him, and apologies in advance for the kind of poor audio quality. This was taken from my phone, literally holding it out, because he addressed the support at the Braehead Arena following the game. So if you put up with a slight bit of poor audio quality, you can hear what he had to say.
We went through a lot of this season in the last probably since the semi-final, even more with injuries and everything, but you know, I don't think anybody can question it. We tried to push the game tonight after a slow start, and sometimes when you push the game, you leave yourself open a little bit, and that's the way it goes. You know, it's a funny old game, ice hockey. Some days it's good, some days it's not so good. And you know, I think you should be really proud of these guys because they were put together, and I think in my opinion, they put the heartbeat back into Glasgow Clan, and you should be proud of them. And people are going to Nottingham, I hope you have a good time, and I'm sure you're going to have a few drinks anyway, and thanks for everything. Thank you.
There we go, that was Pete Russell there talking. As you can hear, just weighing into what I was saying there, a general positivity after that match, albeit a disappointing night and a disappointing defeat and a disappointing end to the season for the Glasgow Clan. Let's hear the thoughts now of, we'll hear from Matt Haywood in a little minute, but first Travis Earhart talking after the match.
Disappointing. It's going to take a little bit to think about that one. We knew what we wanted. We wanted to get to Nottingham. We wanted to give the fans what they deserve, and it's just hard to take right now.
Matt, you've been down this road before with this team. It doesn't get any easier, does it?
No, definitely not. Like Travis said, especially coming back with a lead. We were all pushing to get down to Nottingham, and we felt like you said, the fans deserve it. And I know the boys gave everything they had. I just don't think it was our night tonight, and everyone's hurting from that, that's for sure.
Does it feel like a game too far given all you put into last night's game?
You know what, no. We were talking before the game, we felt good coming into this, we felt ready. I don't know.
Just got to put it into words. I mean, Matt, this team, let's look in the positive. Overall, a great season, Challenge Cup semi-finals, fourth place finish. Doesn't console you right now the way you're feeling right now, but so much has happened in the last year to be proud of.
Yeah, as Pete just said on the ice there, definitely got the heartbeat back in the city for the team, and I'm just gutted for the guys because you've heard it all year. It's a fantastic bunch of guys, and we definitely deserve more than semis and quarters. I think everyone pulled together and just wasn't meant to be, but compared to the last couple of years, definitely moving in the right direction, that's for sure.
Finally, Travis, you're in Glasgow. How much have you enjoyed it here?
Loved it. Love being at the rink every day. You don't always get that when you're with a bunch of different guys you don't know. Loved coming in every single day, working hard with these guys. Loved the fan support. It was great. It really was.
Yeah, one final thing that he touched on there that Pete Russell did as well was, going to work with a smile on your face every single day, and they clearly are doing that. That can only bode well for the future. Whether they keep Earhart and players like that, I'm not sure, because as we know, there's such a large turnaround in hockey teams at this level. But there's a big future there for Glasgow Clan, and if they can keep Pete Russell as well, I think that's a positive as well. Disappointment in the end, though. If I just run over the other couple of games that we've not touched on, the quarter-finals, no surprise to see the Belfast Giants absolutely blitz the Coventry Blaze. That was first against 8th. The Blaze obviously just sneaking in at the end, and the Giants the overall champions. So first leg 5-0 over in Northern Ireland. Second leg not much better, in fact the same for the Coventry Blaze. They did get a couple of goals, but they lost 7-2, so it was 12-2 in aggregate for the Giants. And then the other one, a really good game, bit of a giant killing almost on the line. Well, on Saturday it was a victory for the Sheffield Steelers. They beat the Cardiff Devils, the previous champions of the playoff and the regular season, finished second this year. They lost 5-4 in the first leg, and they came back though to win 7-3 in the second leg. But that one was in the balance for a little bit, especially at the start of the third period, when the Steelers notched a couple of goals to actually lead on aggregate, but 4 late goals in the space of 8-9 minutes for the Cardiff Devils sees them through to the semi-finals. On the topic of the finals weekend, takes place of course at Nottingham's Motorpoint Arena. Semi-final 1 will see the Belfast Giants take on the Guildford Flames. That's on Saturday with a face-off, get my sports mixed up, face-off at 1 o'clock. The second semi-final, Cardiff Devils against the Nottingham Panthers, also on Saturday. Face-off for that one, 5 o'clock. The winners of each of those games will contest the final, which is at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. That is preceded by the third, fourth place playoff, which of course pits the two losers of the semi-finals. That one's on at midday on Sunday. So all the action on at the Motorpoint Arena. If you can't get there, then the final will be broadcast live on Free Sports from 3 o'clock. Free Sports, of course, pretty much the home of Elite League ice hockey. The two semi-finals and the third versus fourth game will be streamed online on the usual channel. So no excuses if you can't get along, and I know there will be a few fans of the Scottish sides who have already booked to go down. Well, for me, I hope you enjoy yourself anyway. I'm sure, as Pete Russell said, you'll have a few drinks anyway and you get yourself sorted out. It's just one of those things that your team isn't there. As I say, you'll have a great time. That's pretty much us at the end of this episode and at the end of this season as far as Behind the Glass is concerned. We've got about a minute to go. I'll take that time just to thank everyone who has contributed in any way to the show, any guests we've had on. We've had a fair few from all the various clubs and journalists like Matt who we had on earlier giving their opinions. Really appreciate it'd be a much duller show if it was just me talking. I can say that is pretty much clear. Big thanks to the Fife Flyers, the Dundee Stars and the Glasgow Clan for helping us with all the content, the stuff taken from YouTube. You can get all that content on their various YouTube channels and online. Big thanks to them. Also to the SNL, who have been great. Really enjoyed personally hearing all the stories from a slightly lower level, but a great league with a great future. Finally to you, just for listening, really do appreciate where you've listened on demand. At the time of recording, at the time of broadcast in the evening, or wherever you've listened, or even if you just contributed on social media, really do appreciate it. That's pretty much me over and out. My show's place will be taken by Tapes Up from next weekend, Speedway show with Derek Smith. Great show that, really enjoy it. And when there's no ice hockey, Speedway's just about the second best option.
Love music, live sport. Behind the Glass with Hamish Carton on Rock Sport Radio.